Hello, Glenn Sample here. Welcome back to my channel, The Men on the Sixth Floor. I hope you've been enjoying some of my content. You know, if you've been watching my videos or if you've read the book, The Men on the Sixth Floor, you know that I am not one who believes that Lee Harvey Oswald was an innocent man. I believe that he was firmly involved in the Kennedy assassination, one of the shooters, and he worked with a group of conspirators. Now, today's episode is concerning the subject of Prayer Man. And if you're not familiar with who Prayer Man is or what Prayer Man is, it's a controversy that revolves about an unidentified man who is on the front porch, right near the stairway of the entrance of the School Book Depository during the assassination. Now, many people think that this was Lee Oswald, which means that if he was on the front porch during the assassination, he's completely an innocent man, a patsy, as he said. But we're going to look at this a little closer. See what you think. See if there's any evidence. Do you think that Prayer Man is Lee Oswald? Well, let me know after the video. And please, do me a favor. If you enjoy the content, you want to see more, subscribe. That way, if you ring the bell, you'll be notified of any new videos that I post. And I'll try to do these as many as I can. Unfortunately, they're too complicated. There's just too much research and logistics that go into these to do them every week. So I don't do them every week, but I do them as often as I can because I enjoy it, and I know you do too. So enjoy the video, and we'll see you next time. All right? Thank you. One of the earliest arguments for Oswald's innocence was the mistaken notion that Oswald was photographed while standing on the stairway of the Texas School Book Depository building entrance during the actual assassination. A widely publicized photograph taken by Associated Press photographer James W. Alkins within a few seconds after President Kennedy was first shot shows a spectator who bears a strong physical resemblance to Lee Harvey Oswald. He's standing at the west end of the Texas School Book Depository entryway. Here we see the photograph in question. Like we said, it was taken seconds after the first shot was fired. We can see Secret Service agents riding in the car, looking back, responding to the first shot. And there in the distance is a photograph of the person resembling Lee Harvey Oswald. You see him right there? Also, you'll notice in the photograph that Kennedy has been struck. His hands are at his throat, and his wife is holding on to his left arm and assisting him. Sure enough, it appeared to be Lee Harvey Oswald standing on the steps. But upon examination and photo analysis, the man standing on the steps was not Lee Harvey Oswald, but another employee named Billy Lovelady. Although this mistaken identity was cleared up decades ago, it still is believed by many to be the proof that Oswald was an innocent man. Even after Billy Lovelady identified himself as the man resembling Oswald. In 1964, a UPI newspaper article says, Billy Lovelady, an employee of the Texas School Book Depository, identified himself today as the man seen in the doorway in a photo taken moments after President Kennedy was shot. That is mistaken. It was not moments after President Kennedy was shot. It was seconds after he was shot. Anyway, I go back to the article. It says, I recall standing in the doorway, and I have about 20 witnesses who were there near me, he said. They will verify it was me. Authorities said that minutes after the shooting, Oswald was seen in a second-floor lunchroom of the building. the shots were fired from the 6th floor. The newspapers asked if the man in the doorway was Oswald, who then fired the shots or the bullets which killed President Kennedy. Mr. Lovelady, a stock clerk, said he had given testimony about the photo to agents of the Warren Commission investigating the assassination. He said he had also cooperated with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. He said the investigation for both the FBI and the Warren Commission were satisfied that it was he and not Oswald in the doorway. Mr. Lovelady said that the FBI had taken pictures of him from various angles and that he had been shown a 3x4 blow-up of the doorway picture and asked if he was in them. Well, he said, I immediately pointed to myself in the doorway. Mr. Lovelady said he was about 15 to 20 pounds heavier than Oswald and about 3 inches shorter. Asked whether there was any resemblance to Oswald, he replied, I'm fatter in the face. It was me in the doorway, he said. If anyone doesn't believe it, it will just have to take my word. Dallas authorities said the photograph had been examined carefully after the assassination. But years later, another photo came under scrutiny by researchers. This is today known as the Prayer Man photograph. A person standing on one of the steps or towards the back of the School Book Depository entrance, but in the rear and left side of the stairway, if you were looking at the front of the building from Elm Street. So we're going to look at some of the photographs here and see if we can see someone back in that stairwell area that resembles Lee Harvey Oswald. So here is the entrance to the School Book Depository building as it appeared in 1963. You see it's completely empty there, and where the red arrow is on the left rear side of that porch is where the prayer man, or some say where Lee Harvey Oswald, will appear in our picture in a few minutes. It'll be to the left rear. Next, we'll see the film that we saw in the last video before this one, called the second floor lunchroom encounter, where we showed Officer Baker running from his motorcycle to the steps of the School Book Depository, and then where he met Truly, the building superintendent, and they went into the building. And then we're going to freeze frame it there, and that's where the prayer man will appear. All right, so you see it's very fuzzy, but that's prayer man. But it was just a clip from a film that was taken by a newsman that was running and panicking, and the shots were going off probably as he took the film. And it's a little clearer in the next shot. And this is about as clear as we're going to get. Now, the proponents of Prayer Man are continually looking for clearer films that they can clarify this picture even further. But the question that we have to ask ourselves is, based on what you see here, is this Lee Harvey Oswald? Now, in addition to the picture, there's some other problems that indicate that this probably could not have been Lee Harvey Oswald. And so what we're going to do is analyze some of the documents and some of the circumstances. For example, what about the people that stood with him on the porch, whoever Prayer Man was? Some of them knew Lee Oswald. One of them drove him to work that day, and also trained Oswald to do his job. So he knew him, and so did others on that porch, but not one of them in either their statements or their Warren Commission testimony ever said that Lee Oswald was out with them on the porch. And so that's a problem. But there are a few other issues that we have to deal with here. Let's get to them. One of the biggest problems of Oswald being on the front porch of the School Book Depository during the actual assassination would be the testimony of Mrs. Robert Reed. Her first name was Geraldine, and she worked as a clerical supervisor there at the School Book Depository. She worked there for about 7 years. She was the mother of 2 and had a grandchild. Now, she reports that she ate lunch about noon in the second-floor lunchroom with some of the other ladies who worked under her supervision. The lunchroom was right next to her office. This is the same lunchroom, by the way, that Lee Harvey Oswald had an encounter with Officer Baker and Roy Truly. She took the elevator down to the front lobby and went out to the front door, through the front door, to stand on the front porch for a few moments as she waited for the motorcade to approach. And as the motorcade approached, she stepped down from the porch into the street a little closer to observe the motorcade, along with Roy Truly and a Mr. Campbell, who were also down in the front area there. After hearing the shots, she quickly returned to the School Book Depository. She took the front stairs from the lobby up to her second-floor office. And as she walked towards her desk in her office, she saw Lee Harvey Oswald emerge from the second-floor lunchroom area. This is probably seconds following the encounter with Baker and Truly. Oswald was walking casually, not running. He was holding a Coke in his hand. Mrs. Reed remarked, "Oh, the president has been shot, but maybe they didn't hit him." Oswald mumbled something that she couldn't understand and kept walking past her into the area of the stairs, the same stairs that she had just come up. So the big problem here is that Mrs. Reed sees Oswald walking towards the front door exit just minutes after the shots were fired. How could Oswald be the prayer man on the front porch observing the assassination? Let's follow the timeline. Let's start with Oswald on the 6th floor. As he makes his way across the 6th floor to the stairway, there he tosses his rifle, and down the stairway he goes, and when he reaches the 2nd floor, he is stopped as he was entering the 2nd floor lunchroom by Officer Baker and Mr. Truly. And within seconds, Truly vouches for Oswald, and Baker cuts him loose. He continues his search up the stairs with Mr. Truly. Oswald buys his Coke at the Coke machine and walks out of the lunchroom the way he came in, but then turns left through the north doorway into Mrs. Reed's office and casually walks by Mrs. Reed, holding his Coke, playing it cool. He ignores Mrs. Reed's comment and proceeds through the office, down the front stairway to the lobby, and disappears into the frenzied crowd. Then he continues east down Elm Street, where 7 blocks later he catches the Marcellus bus, and he's out of there.